On Monday, September 15th, we celebrate the 10th anniversary since Undertale was officially released. So happy 10 years to this monumental masterpiece with such amazing music that it momentarily cures my depression. At 8:03 p.m., Leo Venus sextiles Libra Mars at 25 degrees. The Undertale release chart in 2015 also had Venus in Leo with an exact sextile to not Mars, but Mercury in Libra. In the chart, Mars is actually also in Leo, almost conjunct Venus. So you can see how important Leo and Libra were in popularizing this game, making charming magnetism our keywords for this aspect. On Thursday, September 18th, we have 4 aspects involving Mercury all on the same day. First, at 3:05 a.m., Mercury ingresses into Libra, which, as mentioned previously, is what Undertale's release had in its birth chart. 12 hours later, at 3 p.m., Mercury in Libra opposes Neptune in Aries at 0 degrees. Undertale actually had Libra Mercury opposing not Neptune, but Uranus in Aries, which really makes sense for a game that has extensive quirky dialogue. 7 hours later, at 9:52 p.m., Libra Mercury trines Gemini Uranus at 1 degree. And then an hour and a half later, at 11:26 p.m., Libra Mercury trines Aquarius Pluto at 1 degree. So all 3 air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, are being activated. So I wonder if this will be a very social weekend, or there's a lot of discussion perhaps around Aquarius themes like AI. So I don't usually add too many of the moon aspects in these monthly forecasts, besides the full moon and new moon, because there's just too many aspects. But these 3 particular transits really stood out because they're within minutes of each other. On Friday, September 19th at 5:21 a.m., the Leo moon conjuncts Leo Venus at 29 degrees. Only 2 minutes later, at 5:23 a.m., the moon ingresses into Virgo. And then only 16 minutes later, at 5:39 a.m., Venus ingresses into Virgo. So you can see they're like back to back. Toby Fox himself actually has natal Venus in Virgo, conjunct Jupiter. And when Venus is in Virgo, it's considered to be in the sign of its fall, like a weaker version of Venus. And this comes through so poetically in the game, because you fall down into the ruins. There is a song called Fallen Down to represent that, and you are represented by a heart. I just love how Toby Fox ended up expressing that slightly difficult placement of his so literally and metaphorically in his creation. On Saturday, September 20th at 8:41 a.m., Virgo Venus squares Gemini Uranus at 1 degree. And 14 hours later, at 10:45 p.m., the Virgo Sun opposes Pisces Saturn at 28 degrees. This is just like a bonus event in the game where you give Alphys a letter that Undyne wrote to her. And apparently the letter asks her to go on a date, the Venus part of dating and romance, but Uranus messes things up and she thinks that letter is from you, the protagonist. So you guys go on an awkward date and she even gives you items to raise your affection statistic, which is super Virgo Venus to think like affection can be analyzed and measured. A bit of chaos ensues and Alphys admits to being in love with Undyne. So this is also such a literal representation. Alphys as the Virgo sun, brainy scientist, confessing her love to Undyne, a fish soldier lady. Literally a Pisces, the sign of the fish. That opposition is also that phrase, opposites attract, so you can see how oppositions aren't always bad. Although generally this can be a bit of a difficult placement, so our keywords are practical restraint. Sunday, September 21st at 12:54 p.m., the Virgo moon conjuncts the Virgo sun at 29 degrees, the new moon in Virgo. Because the orbital nodes are a bit further away by a degree, this is a partial solar eclipse. A solar eclipse marks the moon overshadowing the sun, symbolizing new beginnings, but ones deeply shaped by the past. In the game, multiple endings echo this theme. Each new attempt may feel like a fresh start, yet the imprint of your earlier choices lingers in the shadows, influencing the path ahead. On Monday, September 22nd, right at the start of the day at 12:54 a.m., Mars ingresses into Scorpio, one of its ruling signs. Mars in Scorpio tends to have a good work ethic, has these natural reserves of energy and ambition, and this mirrors Undertale's recurring message of staying determined. At every save point, you're filled with determination, so it functions both as a game mechanic and a central theme. So take this as inspiration to channel Mars in Scorpio's relentless focus into whatever truly ignites your own sense of determination. Later the same day at 11:19 a.m., the sun ingresses into Libra. Toby Fox is also a Libra sun. He actually has a full stellium in Libra, and this really shines through in the game because Libra is a sign of the scales, constantly weighing choices, morality, and consequences. Players are repeatedly asked to balance compassion with self-interest and strategy with empathy, which mirrors the Libran drive for fairness and harmony. On Tuesday, September 23rd, we have three aspects all involving the Libra sun. First, at 5:53 a.m., the Libra sun opposes Aries Neptune. Then, 14 hours later, at 7:55 p.m., the Libra sun trines Gemini Uranus. At 11:04 p.m., the Libra sun trines Aquarius Pluto, and all of these are at the first degree. The sun opposing Neptune is just like when you start to battle Metatron, who is an aggressive seeing and human-killing robot. Trine Gemini Uranus, again the sign of the twins, and sudden changes, and Metatron turns into Metatron X. Then trine Aquarius Pluto, and he turns into his final stage of Metatron Neo. On Wednesday, September 24th at 4:51 a.m., Mars in Scorpio squares Pluto in Aquarius at the first degree. This can be a bit of a dangerous aspect related to intensity, obsession, control, and power struggles. It can also speak to transformation born from conflict, and a darker Plutonian part of the story details how Alphys used a machine to extract determination, our Mars in Scorpio, from human souls. And you discover this while exploring a really dark, creepy laboratory, which is like the underworld of Pluto. And that is all for our major aspects for the month. I'd love to know how these transits played out for you, if you've played Undertale, or if you're planning on playing it now. If you find these helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.